Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome. This is Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Of course, we are joined from the economic capital of Nigeria, Lagos. My name is Henry Igwebike, and I love us to start with our newspapers today. Interestingly, we'll be starting with the Daily Trust newspaper. But just before we get to that, we would love you to be part of what we do. Have a say in what we say. You can always find us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. I am honored to have joining me via Zoom, Barrister Irogene Greatness, Barrister Law Public Affairs Analyst, to see through all that we have from our newspapers and straight on to our main conversation for today. Good morning, Mr. Greatness.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you.
My name is His Greatness. His Greatness. They are co-joined.
Oh,
His
okay.
Greatness.
His Greatness. Okay, beautiful. His Greatness. All right, beautiful. So thank you so very much, Barrister, for the time. So I would love us to start off with the Daily Trust newspaper today. We have the big story: Bandits abduct 55 in Zamfara. And on the top strip, we equally have mafias out to kill my refinery, and that's coming from Dangote. We equally have other interesting stories from the Daily Trust newspaper. Presidency Atiku trade words over hunger and poverty, and FCT doctors strike, services grounded in hospitals. Barrister, I love us to start with mafia out to kill my refinery. That's coming from Dangote. Do you believe this Nigerians should take this seriously?
Yes, I believe they should take it extremely seriously, because there has been a back and forth between Dangote refinery and the NNPC. You know, the NNPC at a point said they will supervise the Dangote refinery. They will have staff on ground to supervise the operation. At another time, NNPC said that they will be the off-taker of the PMS coming from Dangote refinery. At another time, Dangote said that the NNPC was a bottleneck as it were to this month's operation, and this is extremely worrisome, because especially for the upstream aspects of the petroleum industry, because what we want to see is that Dangote has not brought competitiveness into the refinery business. It's no more business as usual. So what we expect is to ensure that Warri Refinery, Kaduna Refinery, Port Harcourt Refinery is working in maximum capacity so that they can be competitive to Dangote. But from all the facts available now, NNPC is still embarking on gross importation of petroleum products. And because they see that producing fuel in Nigeria is cheaper than imported products, that is why they are putting some kind of bottlenecks, as it were, to the operations of Dangote, because Dangote has the competitive edge over NNPC, because it's producing its product refinery. The demurrage and other cost of bringing fuel from overseas has been removed. Not to talk of local capacity and the fact that local products are cheaper. The dollar factor will be much reduced. And that is why, to us, and I'm not alone in this view, many Nigerians, because of the competitiveness or monopoly, as it were, by the Dangote refinery, NNPC is now standing as a hurdle to the smooth operation of Dangote refinery. So when he said that there are mafias in this industry, I 100% agree with Dangote, because these are the people who have. Yes.
So when you talk about the NNPC, you know we cannot differentiate it from the federal government. So does that mean that the federal government is not interested in allowing Dangote to work? At the same time, Barrister, let's not forget, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is the substantive Minister of Petroleum Resources. So are we saying literally that the President is complicit with the NNPC to ensuring that Dangote does not work?
Well, to an extent, yes, because the buck stops at the president's table. So he ought to ensure that everything is done to ensure that Dangote refinery thrives, so that other private refineries can also come upstream and thrive as well. But that saying, to that extent, I will say that. But again, you know, the NNPC is autonomous, or ought to be autonomous, yes. And they have been privatized, at least not only in paper, but to a large extent of their operation. So you cannot, the president, even though he is the head or he is the Minister of Petroleum Resources, what he is supposed to do is to give general directives. He cannot go and sit in the NNPC office and direct their day-to-day operation. No, he cannot. Just like a minister cannot do that in an agency under his watch or supervision. He can only give general directives that they should ensure best practices, best global practices. They should shun corruption. They should ensure that their operations are optimal. He can just give those directives, but the implementing those directives falls squarely on the management and staff of NNPCL. And so, but where we can fault federal government and the presidency is where Dangote and the likes are complaining that NNPC are engaging in sharp practices to the extent that it is affecting their own operation. Then we should see the presidency immediately taking action to stem that tide by, first of all, setting up a high-powered investigating commission or committee to investigate whether these allegations are true or not. So, but we have not seen that yet. We have not seen that, and that is where you can now fault the presidency, that they are laid back in performing their regulatory functions over the entire upstream petroleum industry.
Very true. Yes, very true, Barrister. It is becoming a little bit more complicated. Remember when all of this started, Dangote did say that some Nigerian bigwigs have blending plants in different parts of the world. And of course, Owandu, which is a little bit affiliated to the president, is a part of those companies that it was alleged had a blending plant somewhere in Malta. And all of this is just adding up together. I just truly do hope that Nigerians would not be asked to pay the brunt for all of these things. But let's get to another story. Presidency, Atiku trade words over hunger and poverty. Yes, you wanted to say something, Barrister?
No, before we even leave that aside, we Nigerians, because we Nigerians, we appear to be extremely docile. We should be asking the hard questions. You know, Obasanjo said, they said the Port Harcourt and Warri refinery has come upstream. They said that last year or thereabout. And Obasanjo came and said that from insider information that those refineries are not functional. And agents of the government abused Obasanjo and called him father of corruption. But today now Obasanjo has been justified. So we need to even ask, why is the refinery that they claimed a year ago or thereabout to be fully functional now comatose? What is really the problem? Why is it that the Petroleum Industry Act that we have all celebrated, why has it not positively and effectively affected the functionality of Warri Refinery, Port Harcourt Refinery, and Kaduna Refinery? So those are the inquiries that must be made, and we must get answers. Until answers are made, I'm sure that Dangote will continue to be a prey. It will continue to be a prey, a delicate prey, endangered species in this upstream petroleum industries, because he will be seen as a threat to the importation mafia that is surrounding the entire upstream petroleum industry chain.
Very true. Very, very true, Barrister. And just to let us know that about $2.5 billion was invested in Port Harcourt and Warri refinery. Unfortunately, that money has gone, and we can't even account for it because the refinery is not working at optimal. And at the same time, Mele Kyari is still under investigation with the EFCC. He is. We've heard that he has said some things. We do hope that it would not involve lots of other people who might be the mafias. Of course, becoming part of the problem that we have. But I want us to talk on this particular matter. Presidency article trade words over hunger and poverty. Why is the president in denial, Barrister, that there's hunger in the land?
Because the presidency for now is fixated at 2027 and admitting the true state of the economy in terms of high rate of unemployment, high rate of poverty, high inflation rates, reduced direct investment portfolio in the country will negatively impact on his chances of winning a re-election come 2027. And it shows clearly that his scorecard is far below average. So that it is a political gimmick as far as I'm concerned. But how long will he continue to run away from the reality which we are all living witnesses? We are all living witnesses that there's high rate of poverty. We are all living witnesses that from the Buhari till now, multi-dimensional poverty has indeed increased, not even marginally, grossly. So we see it every now and then, every corner we bend. So if it continue to live in this space of alternate narrative about the Nigerian economy and the true state of living of Nigerians, I think that it will even plunge its chances of winning a re-election even further down below. Except what people are speculating that in 2027 we should not expect a free and fair election. You know, people are already saying that it is the retired Court of Appeal judge that will replace and the current Yakubu, the current INEC chairman.
INEC chairman, yeah.
Come November, so that he can do a yeoman's job. So, but we hope that will not be the case. But if the president is really interested in winning re-election through a free and fair process, the earlier the presidency praises to the realization of the true reality that there's high rates of poverty in the land. There's high, despite rebasing the economy, the inflation rate is still unacceptable. Even the current exchange rate, whether you call it 1,500, 1,600 to the dollar, is also not acceptable. Also, too, the current squandermania in government by way of the expenditure of government, recurrent expenditure, is also not acceptable. Also, the high rates of borrowing. We hear that there are also some billions of dollars that are in the works to be borrowed again. Is also not acceptable. So, except the government sets up a crack team that can deal with these issues decisively, that can think outside the box, think outside the traditional methods of approaching economic issues to pragmatic and strategic measures that can bring succor to the ordinary Nigerian, cushion their hardship, cushion their food hardship, cushion their transportation hardship, cushion their high cost of living hardship, and brings in a short-term succor, not long-term, short-term, not even medium-term, short-term immediate succor to Nigerians. Then I'm afraid that the presidency can as well forget about his re-election ambition of 2027.
All right, let's yes. Of course, it's becoming a little bit funny that the president wants a re-election, knowing the Nigerians have said he had not performed, even if his media cronies and people around him are busy telling him how that he's awesomely doing well, but Nigerians know too well that he is actually not doing well. But let's move to the Punch newspaper, Barrister, and we have the talking point here. Tinubu cuts short vacation, returns to Nigeria. Equally, Fubara foreign trips, a bar set for handover. Barrister, speak to me. You were at the NBA National Conference, which, because of the state of emergency declared on Fubara, it was shifted from Rivers State, Port Harcourt, to Enugu. And Fubara is about to come back yet again. What's your say on this particular matter? Do we expect something new from Fubara, or do we see a Fubara who is 100% a puppet of Nyesom Wike and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
Personally, what I will expect Fubara to do once he comes back is to stand for the masses. To stand for the masses, because whatever agreement he has entered with anybody behind the scene is not binding on him. It's not binding on him. He has a future to reckon with. Whether he will be impeached in the remaining part of his first term, or whether he will be able to go for a second term, that should not even be his priority. His priority will be during his time in office. What will he be known for? By what measure will he be judged, and what will be his legacy? Will it be that of cowardice? Will it be that of an Ijaw man? We always know Ijaw to be bold, courageous, fearless, sacrificial, even sacrificial lamb. Will he change that name, that legacy of the Ijaw man? But that somebody, a governor, a chief executive, capitulated by this wayside interest. So he will have to prove his mettle. He will have to show that he is for the people, and it is the interest of the people supersedes any private engagement or any private deal or private endeavor. He must prove that. What I expect from him once he assumes office is to reverse all the appointments that have been made during the emergency rule by bringing back his own people that were suspended. That's the first signal I want to hear to show that he's actually going to stand by the people.
But don't you think that will re-emerge? Barrister, don't you think that will re-emerge the problem that led to the state of emergency yet again?
Well, justice is not quietness in the grave site. That's the true meaning of justice is law and order, things being done right. Not that there's silence, there's quietness. That's not justice. But that the proper things must be done, no matter whose ox is God. You know what we say is that let the heavens fall, but let justice be done. So the fact that there's quietness now does not mean that there's justice. Let's not work on that. Those kind of let there be no misgiving. There's no justice now. There's no peace now. Peace cannot be there. People are dissatisfied. People are offended. People feel cheated. People feel oppressed. People feel deprived. People feel that their location is being siphoned to quarters outside the interest of Rivers State. People feel that the RISEC board membership has been hijacked by a group of people that may not be more than 5 or 10. That cannot be peace or quietness. So there's no peace. So the real peace is for him to ensure that the people have their way. He stands for the people. He does the right people. Even if the heavens will come, even they declared state of emergency when nobody was, no gunshot was fired, nobody was fighting any person. It was just because of a way to give a particular side in the divide advantage. That was all that was the real reason behind the state of emergency, which has been proven. And that's why I expected in the NBA conference, which we had, for in our communique, we ought to have made a strong proclamation that, number one, in our community, our NBA conference, that the state of emergency was wrong, was unconstitutional. We did not do that. We ought to also have made another proclamation in our community that the forthcoming local government election, which took place 2 days after the end of our conference, is null and void, because you cannot conduct election during emergency rule. The NBA did not stand up enough to make that declaration. And even me, as a participant, I raised up my hand to bring it to the notice of the AGM, but I was not recognized to do. And also, too, the NBA we also made another mistake during this conference, because in our community, we also ought to collectively have called on this CJN and the Supreme Court that the matter that has been taken to the Supreme Court by the PDP governors should now be immediately heard, pronto, and judgment delivered accordingly before 18th day of September 2025.
But won't it be an academic exercise, barrister? Even if it is done, won't it be an academic exercise? Because 6 months has come and gone, and it doesn't make any sense any longer.
No, you know, one thing about the law does not. The law is always forward-looking. So the law also the courts should determine issues so that there will not be a reoccurrence in future. So the law does not only deal with things that has passed. The law also deal with things that are present, and the courts also deal with issues so that this kind of anarchy, this kind of lawlessness will not repeat itself in future. So even though the matter is still before the Supreme Court, I'm still urging the Supreme Court to hear that matter, to make a clear proclamation that this kind of behavior, this kind of conduct is unconstitutional, and courts of law will not tolerate it. So I expect to hear that kind of signature judgment coming down and hard on the federal government coming hard on the federal government by the Supreme Court. And if we are awarding damages against the federal government for declaring state of emergency, they can award damages of 20 billion naira in favor of River State for declaring state of emergency when they ought not to declare state of emergency in the manner in which the federal government did. So,
but Barrister, knowing that since the Supreme Court had failed to do that, and it is not looking like the Supreme Court would do that, do you believe that the Supreme Court has been hijacked by the executive?
Well, this one, if I believe that, well, it is my personal opinion, but that is what majority of Nigerians believe. We cannot run away from it, and I'm sure the present CGN in a number of occasions has alluded to the fact that majority of Nigerians have lost interest and have lost confidence in the capacity of Nigerian court to administer justice without fear or favor. And if you can go out of your studio now and take a census of 20 Nigerians, if hardly will you see 2 Nigerians who will tell you that the way the Nigerian courts are presently justice in Nigerian courts to do justice without fear or favor. They believe that Nigerian courts, they normally and always kowtow to rich Nigerians, to politicians, to public office holders. That is what they believe, and of course the Sultan said that during our inaugural his address in our NBA meeting that justice in Nigeria is now a purchasable commodity. And I felt that is a very strong, in a way, warning and admonition and advice coming from the Sultanate and the courts. Even hearing that alone would have the next week fixed this River State matter in the Supreme Court for hearing. So it is not something we can run away from. It is another reality that is staring us in the face and may consume this nation if we do not carry out extraordinary radical steps to stem this tide. I know a lot of my colleagues we want to live in denial. We say, no, it's not that bad. No, there are only few bad eggs. Oh, I'm trying to paint a very nice picture. But that is not the reality that is perceived and seen by Nigerians who are the litigants in court. And in our principles of law, it is the true opinion of a court is the thinking, is the mindset of that bystander who is not a lawyer. His opinion of the court is what matters, not the opinion of the judge, not the opinion of the CJN, not the opinion of the Supreme Court, not the opinion of SANs, not the opinion of legal luminaries and legal practitioners. It is the opinion of ordinary Nigerians about our judiciary that counts, that stands out, that is the yardstick for measuring whether our judiciary is independent or our judiciary has been sidetracked and taken over. And so this one is now an opportunity for the judiciary to, in a way, now bring about an alternate opinion that even though majority of Nigeria think this about the judiciary is redeemable, one, and the judiciary is able to act different from the very difficult verdict that the Nigerian people have delivered on it. So it's a wonderful opportunity, and I just hope and pray earnestly that the judiciary will take opportunity of this golden opportunity to redeem itself and once again begin the process of redeeming the trust of the Nigerian people have placed on it. That's my take on that.
Very well said, Barrister. A little wonder Nigerians would say all eyes on the judiciary, because just like you did say, it is the opinion of those bystanders that actually tells the picture, paints the picture. That's truly what it is. In 60 seconds, if you may, Barrister, for the want of time, food price crash. Farmers fall to federal government's order as agro import hits 2.2 trillion naira. Barrister, does it look like President Bola Ahmed Tinubu wasn't actually prepared before running for the biggest seat in Nigeria, which is the presidency? Because in the last 3 years or 2 years plus, all he has been doing is knee-jerk approach to every policy. Right now, rather than ensure that farmers go to farm, ensure that security is taken care of in different food baskets of the federation, he is rather fixated on crashing food prices through import. Does it look like President Bola Ahmed Tinubu truly understands the rule of engagement with the position as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
Well, if you remember, during the presidential campaigns, even our AGM of NBA, Mr. Peter Obi was there. Mr. Atiku Abubakar came to debate, but Mr. President was not there in person. And even in all the different debates they had, Mr. President did not show up, and his excuse was that they want to use him, media wanted to use him to sell their news, and he was not going to fall to that. So he was unable to actually tell the Nigerian people, engage with the Nigerian owners and tell them the plans that he had for Nigeria, whether economic wise, whether youth engagement, food production, whether in terms of exchange rates, whether fuel subsidy. He did not come and engage with them one-on-one to sell his plan, to even first of all to show that he appreciated where the Nigerian economy was presently at that time, and how he will carry out a phased strategy in lifting the average Nigerian from a multidimensional poverty to at least to a average lifestyle. He never did. So from the word go, he never showed clear understanding of what he would face if elected president. And of course, the way the fuel subsidy was removed. Even if fuel subsidy was going to be removed, it was not going to be on his address and say fuel subsidy is gone. He didn't show preparedness. He ought to have, first of all, having become president, set up a task force or a task team to look at it and to at least to lay down strategies on how to remove the fuel subsidy in such a way and manner that will cushion the pains of Nigerians to the barest minimum and will not affect other ancillary aspects of the Nigerian economy, such as food prices, such as transportation, such as cost of housing, and other aspects, such as medical facilities, medical services. So he also, that's what he would have done before. Then they will now make these recommendations, which he will now follow through in removing the fuel subsidy. So it shows unpreparedness. It shows clear unpreparedness. And that's why when there's no preparedness, what do? You act in a state of emergency. You act urgently, you act quickly, you act without, you just, like you said, knee-jerk approach. You just respond to the problem in a reactive manner instead of being proactive. That's the essence of planning. It said good preparation prevents poor performance, but bad preparation will attract bad results and outcomes. And that's you cannot. These principles and philosophy have been time tested and they are true. So you cannot roll it away. Just like now, what is the long-term and sustainable solution in ensuring low food prices? Even without thinking, we know them. Number one, security. Ensure that the farmers, plateau, middle belt, food belt of the nation have access to their farms and they can farm effectively. Sufficiently make fertilizer and other subsidy and grants available to farmers. The higher, simple economics, the higher production, the lower the price. Simple. What has he done now? How much grants has he made available to farmers, both in the north, in the south, and the rest, so that with that they will increase food yield, which will result in reduced food prices. What has been done? At least if I want to declare emergency in food production, we will be expecting that he must make at least 3 to 5 trillion naira annually available to farmers to crash food prices. So because it will not enhance, increase food production, and again too, of course, that will not lead to increased employment opportunities. And of course, value will be added to the production, and of course, it will lead to increased establishment of industries. You see the chain reaction, see the spiral reaction leads to this and that. But when you're not encouraging importation. Just yesterday, before you invited me, I heard that we are now importing yam from a West African country. I don't know how true it is, but I found it impossible to believe. So what we are now doing now, we are now exporting jobs to African countries, exporting jobs, because before it used to be toothpick. We are importing toothpick, we are importing these juice and the rest, but now we are now importing yam, which we can our farmers can produce in abundance in the middle belt there,
exactly.
in abundance. If we are ready to do the right thing, So this one shows unpreparedness. If you want to get the result, you must do the work. So I call on the federal government to be on their desk and fold their sleeve and do the hard work. All this short-term game will not take Nigeria anywhere. And it will serve as a very, very, very unhealthy legacy for the Tinubu administration. So the things to do to enhance food production is there. It's not rocket science. It's indeed simplistic. So do it and get the proper result. All these short-term solutions, quick fixes, is what has consistently and continually and perpetually brought Nigeria to its knees. And so it must cease. It needs to cease. Let's do the right thing so that.
Very true, Barrister. Let's do the right thing so, of course, we can get the value deliverable that is needed within that. And a couple of days back, the Daily Trust newspaper reported that 69 days after the launch of 2,000 tractors in Abuja by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, those tractors are yet to get to the farmers. So you can see how serious-minded or lack of it we are in Nigeria. These are tractors that have been bought with hard-earned money. Rather than get it to the farmers, it is still there with the federal government. Well, let's just see how this goes, though, and we hope that things would get better. Just to let you know, folks, that Barrister will still be here to take us on our main conversation. That is when we return. Bandits abduct 40 worshippers in Zamfara as peace deal collapses. This is still Enterprise Morning. Please don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
My people, the elections are around the corner. Before you know it, it will be 2027. But before then, for you to partake in the election, you must have your voter's card. And for you to have your voter's card, you must register. INEC has rolled out the drums. We call this program Continuous Voters Registration. And it is for you to register. This is to do that if you want to vote. And it's important that you take part in the process of voting. Just go there, give them your name and your address. That's all. And of course, they will capture you, take your picture, and that's all. You are done. Within 5 minutes, you are done. And after that, when the time comes, they call it claims and objection time. That's when you look at it. They will paste all the results or the names of those that have registered all over the places. You will go to the place you register, check your name that is well spelled and the information you've given them correct, And that's all. After some time again, they will tell you that your voter's card is ready. You go and pick it. That is all. Be a good Nigerian citizen. Partake in the process, because it's a duty imposed on you by Section 23 of the 1999 Constitution as a good citizen. And you will be better off by voting, because you have your mind that, yes, you voted right. I'm Wale Ogunade, constitutional lawyer, human rights activist, and President, Voters Awareness Initiative. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for joining us. This is still Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's head straight to our main conversation for today. Armed bandits attacked a mosque in Gidan Turbe village, Tsafe local government area of Zamfara State, abducting about 40 worshippers during early morning prayers on Monday. Hours earlier, another group of kidnapped at least 12 people in Godai village in Bukkuyum local government area of the same state. Community sources said the victims were taken into nearby forests, raising fears that recent peace agreements between Katsina and Zamfara communities and bandits have collapsed. Observers, of course, noted that the absence of a central command among armed group makes such peace deals fragile as attacks persist across Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, and Kaduna states. Meanwhile, troops of the Operation Fasan Yamma conducted several operations across the northwest, repelling attacks in Katsina and Kebbi while recovering weapons and equipment. Security forces also confirmed ongoing efforts to rescue the Zamfara abductees, though casualties were recorded, including the death of a Nigerian security and civil defense corps cooperative, and injuries to both soldiers and civilians alike. Despite these interventions, the abduction highlights the worsening insecurity in the region and the limitations of the dialogue in halting bandit violence. I still have with me Barrister, His Greatness. Thank you so very much, Barrister, for being here. I truly do appreciate you.
Thank you very much for having me again.
Thank you. All right, so Barrister, let's talk about kidnapping, banditry, and so many other criminal things happening in Nigeria. Of course, Zamfara is what it is, but let's have a blanket issue around the country, because what you see in Zamfara and other northeastern part of Nigeria equally is present in the south, in the southeast, and even some parts of the southwest of Nigeria. Barrister, do you think it makes any sense really for the government that is there to ensure that peace is obtainable in different society is desiring to dialogue with bandits? Does it make any sense?
Well, yeah, it's a hydra-headed threat. So usually a threat that is hydra-headed, you must have multiple options in dealing with it. Of course, dialogue, stick and carrot approach. You must ensure it. Of course, it cannot not only be arms, but our real concern is that, are we sure that we are investing enough in our law enforcement agents to be able to checkmate this criminal gang that has virtually invaded the entire nation and are holding the entire nation hostage? They are holding the entire nation hostage, and it is such a shameful situation that in 10 years now running, up from Muhammadu Buhari's administration to now Tinubu regime, no meaningful milestone has been attained in checking what I will refer to as the savage and barbaric targeting of Nigerians by bandits, headsmen, Boko Haram, ISWA and their allies. No significant, even though from the Buhari, one of the main reasons why Nigeria voted for Buhari's regime is that because since he's a retired army general, he will be able to effectively checkmate the rising spread of insecurity in the north. Then it has not spread down. But unfortunately, even in the revered Muhammadu Buhari's regime,